Welcome back to Big Riff Energy. This is a momentous occasion. First Zoom guest in the history of the show, and it couldn't be a better guest. The legend, the myth, cryptozoological legend of the Virginia Hills, the man himself, TJ Childers. Welcome to the show. It'll be air horn sound effects, like in a rap video going off right now. Yeah. How you doing,
Welcome
man?
back to the Pantera home video.
Volume, what is it? 2? Volume 3. How you doing, man?
Good. Just got back from band practice a little while ago.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we're working on some new tunes. Or not, I'm sorry. We're rehearsing the new record to play live at Roadburn.
Yeah, I was doing like the bare minimum amount of research, which is like we've known each other how long? I don't really need to do that, but I saw you guys are playing the whole record at Roadburn. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hell yeah. So yeah, for those who are unaware, Inter Arma's putting out a new record on Relapse Records. April 26th. It's called New Heaven. For the record, no pun intended. I've pre-ordered it, and I urge everyone else to pre-order it, especially if you're if you're already fans of the band. It's what we've come to love and respect about Inter Arma, and then some. And I heard, well, okay, fuck, man, I'm gonna back way up. We'll get to that record. We'll get to that
Sure.
record. But I was looking at a post you made, and this is going to be redundant for you, but this was cool to me to give some people some context. When you posted about the record, put on Instagram that you started. Okay, I'll just quote it. I started playing drums when I was 3, played my first show at 5, joined my dad's band at 7, started playing guitar and writing songs at 13, and started Inter Arma when I was 23. And you go on to just say, music is my life, right? And I'm gonna put some pictures up here too of you at the headset, Garth Brooks, Britney Spears microphone,
Sure.
and the promo foot. Do you remember? I know you and I have both done. We've endured a lot of self-inflicted brain damage since the age of 7, but do you remember that pretty distinctly? Playing drums in a fucking rock band at 7?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I,
What was
I
that
remember
like?
it was cool and fun and exciting, especially when I get paid. That was a trip. Like, I'd be 7 or 8 years old, and here's $100 for playing tonight. Like,
Oh
what
my
the
god.
fuck do I do with this? This is like, might as well be $1 million fucking dollars.
Yeah, that reminds me of George Jones talking about being a kid and going downtown in like a small town in Texas playing guitar and making more money than every member of his family combined, just playing guitar. And they're like working, I don't know, on a farm, doing like hard ass manual labor. He's out there playing guitar and like providing for the family. As a kid, that's like I can't imagine wrapping my head around doing something that you love so much and then making that much money at 7 years old. That's rad.
And not only that, let me think. I was like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, something like that. And we opened up for Foghat in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is, like an hour up the road from here, straight up 95. And I fucking signed autographs for like at least an hour and a half after we played. Like, while Foghat was up on stage playing fucking Slow Ride and all that shit, I'm still running out in the crowd signing autographs. And then in the paper a week later, it said that we blew Foghat away.
That rules, man. That's so surreal. And you were playing drums in that band.
Yeah. I
Okay.
didn't start playing guitar until I
Yeah, I
started
just
really
read
playing
it.
guitar when I was 13. Huh?
I just read it and I already forgot. Yeah, you said it.
Uh,
It said it in the post.
yeah.
That's cool. So man, the reason I wanted to bring that up is it's just I've talked about it on this show a little bit how I feel like we're maybe this is me being like slightly out of touch and aging, in a young man's game, but it just feels like the concept of like a lifer is kind of in jeopardy or something. I just people that are that committed and that much of a lifer, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm just unaware of them, but I just think it shows in the music that you make, you know. It's I especially in heavy music, it just seems like there's a lot of concern for like fitting into a specific genre classification or fitting into a specific scene or checking the boxes so that you'll have like a built-in fan base and a built-in ability to tour with similar bands and stuff like that. And I don't see that in the pivotal like movements throughout heavy music. So like the original death metal movement, I don't see that same like fear of experimentation or like shying away from experimentation. Those guys like weren't interested in sounding like every other band in their category. They weren't
Right.
interested in like checking boxes and stuff like that. So I don't you gotta be like you gotta kind of have that lifer thing and um that like really profound love of just music, I think, to make something meaningful. And that comes through in Inter Arma's music. Like from album to album, you guys are experimenting, and then within each album, I feel like you're experimenting. So to sort of branch off of that, I heard through the grapevine, a little birdie told me a while back. And we'll let our listeners know you play drums in the band, but is it safe to say you're also kind of the primary like writer of the music as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And Mike writes the lyrics, I guess.
Correct.
Cool. A little birdie named Mike told me that you had like a whole other album written, or maybe like almost an album's worth of material, and then you started getting these other songs that ended up sort of pointing you into the direction of what ended up being the new album, New Heaven. Is that right? So you kind of had like a whole album that you just sort of set aside and went in another direction for New Heaven.
I wouldn't go as far to say it was a whole new record.
Uh huh.
Uh, it was definitely there's two or three songs that are complete that we could have recorded at any point. I think one of them we did actually record, but there's probably skeletons or a little bit more than skeletons of three, four, five other songs, and then I still have like shit on my computer that those guys never heard, and it definitely kind of got to a point with the whole fucking bass player fiasco that a lot of people at this point know that we've gone through. It's just like feeling like one guy couldn't play most of the shit, and then I just kind of losing steam a little bit. And then once we got Joel in there, and it felt like it really finally fucking coalesced, it was like, okay, let's let's not scrap everything, but let's really pick and choose from what I think is the shit that really stands out the most, and the shit that uh really doesn't sound like anything in particular. Because there was definitely like one of the songs sounded like it could have been on Soul for English, where it was really fucking intense and heavy and cool. It might even still see the light of day at one point, but once we started to pick and choose, and I saw that there was more of a vibe, or a particular vibe, I should say, then I thought, okay, let's keep it going in this direction.
Cool. I will state for the record as well, I have been throwing my name in the bass player for Inter Arma hat for a long time. Fuck you guys. I guess.
Motherfucker, you live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, true.
I don't even know where you live right now. I know it's somewhere in fucking Texas.
That's by design, bro. I'm
I
off
know.
the grid. No,
I
if you guys are next time you come through here, if you're going from Austin to Houston or vice versa, you're gonna come out here between
okay.
shows. Yeah, you'll see. You'll see. Uh you guys pretty much lived with us for a minute when we lived in Mesa. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
You were there for like a week or something.
yeah. I mean, we did like one tour that went through there, and we kind of had a day off, and then like a couple weeks later, another tour that went through there, day off. Yeah.
Good times. Um, so yeah, I want to just sort of reemphasize what I was saying earlier and kind of what you touched upon, that I feel like it's rare these days that a band is just like completely free from yeah, being bound to like simple categorization and just really doing their own thing. And I feel like you guys are one of the few heavy bands nowadays that really has like a unique identity. And I feel like especially how many is this your I mean, I guess technically the Cavern is an EP, but this is like your fourth or fifth album, depending on how you look at it. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the fifth official LP.
Okay, cool. So if you count the Cavern, it would be number six.
Yeah.
Okay, damn. So I feel like the last few albums you've really been like closing in on your thing. Sky Burial, it was cool because it was like a lot of different things going on throughout the course of the album. There was like some black metal stuff and some sludge and some death metal and psych and stuff like that. But I think starting from there, you guys really sort of started putting all of that together within individual songs, and the albums sort of have like uh you guys sort of have a signature album sequencing or album arc, I would say now, almost kind of like Ride the Lightning and Puppets sort of have like a the same sequencing or sort of
100% what it is.
okay, fuck yeah. Cool, cool,
I,
cool. Okay, yeah, I did the same thing with two Spirit Adrift albums. Like studied the flow, and I think what Metallica did is they sort of looked at the first two Ozzy albums and a lot of other, like classic metal albums. When you're really looking at how are you fitting these songs on an LP, the limitations of an LP, like you kind of want it to be under a certain amount of time on each side. And I've heard that they put the track four ballad in the track four slot because as you get to the edge of the record, that's like the best spot to put a song with dynamics or quieter parts or something like that. Anyway, I
I've
love
never heard.
rec. Yeah, I don't know. I obviously I'm ill prepared, but I read some shit like that a while ago and like probably completely just butchered the idea just now. But the point being, I love records that are like specifically designed as a side A, side B, immersive experience, like a record, like Dark Side of the Moon, old school record. And you guys do that. And I feel like on the past few albums, like I said, you've really kind of figured out a way to put all of those different inputs together and create like this new thing. And so that being said, what the fuck is up with the first riff on the album? That's just like explain yourself.
That was literally me sitting in this basement with this guitar
Okay.
and just finding fucked up intervals of like where does it sound the most fucked up, and then just kind of cycling through all those intervals, and then the next thing I know, you get
It makes an impression, man. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Most of y'all's stuff I can sort of like pinpoint like the broad like orbit of maybe the influences, but that when that thing hit, I was like, that's just Inner Arma. Like that's just you to me, which is awesome. Uh
I kind of intended for it to also be a little of like half what the fuck are these guys doing, and then half go fuck yourself.
yeah, I could tell. And that's a joyful thing, man. That's a joyful thing to like recognize in someone else's art is just that. Yeah, I mean, once you've been through enough stuff as a songwriter, as a live performer, you're just kind of like you
Over
get
it.
to a point where you're truly just doing it for yourself. And you hope, I'm sure you hope that it resonates with the people that it's supposed to, the people that appreciate what you're doing, and there's plenty of those people, but sometimes we just have fun for ourselves, right? And that comes through as soon as the new record starts. I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers are just pleasing themselves. Like, I don't want to call it like inside jokes, but it's just very satisfying, fun stuff that we get to do writing songs.
It is a little bit of an inside joke. There's an element of that, and honestly, and I'm sure you experienced this. You're when you're 5 or 6 records in, and I've written other other songs with other bands. I've been writing songs since I was fucking 13 years old. This, like, it's great. I love Iron Maiden, but
What were you just playing? I can't hear your guitar at all when you're playing
here, let me crank it up.
it.
How about now? Got it?
Yeah, you're like gate. You got a noise gate or something on the Zoom thing.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's like killing the background noise.
Okay. Well, anyway, like the typical E minor, D, C, and back again chord progression.
Yeah,
Like, I love it. I love Iron Maiden. I love every all the classic records that use that chord progression. But after a while, you're like, okay, what the fuck else is there other than power chords and open chords and
yeah,
weird voicings? Like, most paths have been explored at this point.
that's true.
So it's hard to find something that is really truly unique that no one else has done before. And it's not that no one else has written riffs or songs with dissonance, but if you can kind of take that sort of out of the box thing and make it your own thing, then I feel like you stand a chance at actually creating something that does stand out. So that was definitely a lot of the thought process behind that song in particular. Like,
Cool.
how fucked up and jarring can we make it, but still, like the main riff of the song, I think, is still pretty catchy. That, like,
Yeah.
you can still, even though you can't really like sing it, you can walk away and kind of sort of hum it.
Yeah. I think you just did sing it. So you
Yeah.
sort of can't sing it. Um,
Meow, 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 meow.
another, I agree with you that I think that's the only chance that you have of making something that's going to last as well. Like that'll make an impression, but also sort of last. Um, and I think another way to do that is production and sort of like knowing what current technology to lean on, but also knowing how not to like over rely on whatever the current technology is. And I feel like vacuum tubes were kind of the peak of technology for guitar tone, and you can't really replace them with like an amp modeler. And I'm kind of coming around on amp modelers. Like there's cool ways of doing it.
Yeah,
Brett from Paul Bear is actually running a Helix into a Mad amp with giant tubes. And to me, like we played some shows with them last year. That's like the best of both worlds. That's a
sure.
perfect example of like embracing modern technology, but also having the soul of that tube amp technology, which I really do think is like the superior sound for guitar. And the same thing applies to like recording. Uh, and your guys' recordings really have you. Did you do the new one with Mikey as
Oh,
well?
oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, there's just such a. I think I really especially started hearing it on Sulfur English. There's such an organic human element of imperfection, and especially on some of those songs where like my favorite thing about Sulfur English the first time I heard it is some of those songs where you're running a fucking double kick marathon for like the whole song. It's not to a grid. It's not like the compression isn't hitting so hard that every kick is exactly the same. And you can like, there's like a narrative to your double kick experience through the whole song. You can feel the energy going up. You can feel the energy sustaining. You can feel it kind of like getting a little bit behind and then right back on. And to me, that's like the point of music is to feel that humanity and feel that expression. And I think production is such a major part of that. So can you talk a little bit about the recording process of the new album? Did you guys, first question, did you guys record to tape?
No.
Okay. Well, it sounds it I don't know how, but it sort of has all the appealing aspects of tape recordings to me. So I don't know how to explain that, but talk a little bit about the recording process if you would.
Um, well, we recorded at a studio here in town, and I'm sorry, we recorded the drums at a studio here in town, and we went there based upon what type of console they have, what type of mic selection they have, and what type of mic pre's they have. And if you listen to any classic fucking record, whether it's Zeppelin, AC/DC, Skynyrd, whatever, they're always recording in a big ass studio. Drums, especially, I'd say, they're always recording in a big ass room, super nice mics, going into nice preamps, going into a fucking an old Neve or an SSL or whatever the case is. So for drums, especially, because if you're doing live drums, it's kind of like the same sentiment as having vacuum tubes with your guitar tone. Like those are you pretty much have to have those elements to get that like classic kick-ass drum sound. So that's a big part of it. I mean, obviously having Mikey there who knows how to work all this shit and manipulate it and make it sound fucking sick is the biggest part of it, really. But yeah, having those things, and then most of the time I don't record to a click, unless I know there's going to be mad fucking drum overdubs like on Howling Lands on Soul for English, where there's like 10,000 fucking layers of drums. Like, all right, I have to record this to a click. And I think I even layered my drum tracks. Like I did the double bass by itself, and then the toms, and then like the bell, and then other weird sounds. Because I knew I was going to layer it, and to try and do it without a click would be fucking impossible. But 9 times out of 10, I'm not using a click, which is a pain in the ass for guitars and bass and vocals to record to. But also, my meter is good enough at this point in my life, and I've always had a pretty good meter where my tempo doesn't fluctuate. You know, like it doesn't jump drastically. Certainly between like the verse and the chorus, it might speed up a little bit. But again, that creates a little bit more of a pain in the ass for the guitars and bass. But fuck them, they can work around it. but not having everything to a click, and also there's no sound replacement for the drums. Nothing's quantized. There's only one song on this last record on New Heaven that I actually punched in because the overheads went out in the middle of the fucking song. So it's about as organic as it can be. It's as close to recording to tape as it can possibly be. Like there's the punch ins and punch outs for guitars are fairly minimal. You know, nothing's like completely fixed. And I mean, if you just listen to the fucking record, there's mistakes all over the place.
Yeah, and I love
You
it.
can hear the guitars being out in some places. You can hear me whiffing on. I'm passing out clans left and right on the fucking drum tracks. There's by no means am I back there fucking killing it, especially on this last one because I was fucking working 40 hours a week, which I haven't done steadily in 20 years. So I don't have time to fucking practice drums for a couple hours every day. Like
yeah.
it's just.
Well, hey
So
man, AI can make perfect music. And so like the only thing that's separating us from the eventual Skynet takeover is the imperfection. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And that's the stuff, whether people realize it or not, I think that's what gets people excited. And then there are people who do realize it, nerds like you and me, who will listen to like Thrill of It All on Black Sabbath Sabotage, and right before they go into the bridge, you hear Tony just hit like a random wrong open string for a split second, and it's like, oh shit, he's human, you know? It's like exciting.
Yeah. Well, I think that people who aren't dorks and aren't nerds, who don't really know much about music, gravitate towards that shit on a subconscious level. That's why people still talk about all of those old records where things aren't fixed.
Yep.
That's why people talk about old death metal. Like fucking Symbolic is close to perfect, but it's not perfect. That they couldn't really go back and fix anything. It's on tape. Fucking Calculating Infinity by the Dillinger Escape Plan is recorded to fucking tape.
Oh no. I can't,
What's
I don't know, that's giving me anxiety thinking about that session.
well exactly, but think about how fucking unbelievable that record is.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the few people who likes, not few people, but like, these elitists who don't like newer Dillinger Escape Plan. I like newer Dillinger Escape Plan, but Calculating Infinity is the fucking one.
Yeah, definitely.
And that shit is on tape, and it sounds like five maniacs from New Jersey who are really fucking good at their instruments just going fucking ham for 30 minutes or however fucking long that record is.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I sort of touched upon earlier, is like knowing how much technology to rely upon and how much technology to like avoid as a crutch. And I always think of like how they made the movie Halloween on like a complete shoestring budget, and there were all these limitations to the production and the props and everything else. And if you're a real artist and you have that real like unhinged, imaginative, creative drive and spirit and experience, those type of limitations are like what forces the magic out of you. And like you said, that's why people still talk about old classic records. Like and you mentioned one of my other favorite concepts, which is like even people that aren't obsessed with all this, whether they know it or not, I do agree with you, and I believe wholeheartedly that human beings are subconsciously attracted to stuff, art that's imperfect and human. And it makes sense because like humans aren't perfect. So why would we be able to relate to like perfectly computerized, symmetrical, quote unquote, like flawless stuff? Because that's not what we are. So it makes sense that we would resonate more with things that are imperfect. And I think you guys are like one of the better current examples of that. Um, and
We
I
are
don't say again.
we are definitely imperfect.
Yeah, same. So yeah, I'll tell the people listening. I think a lot of folks that listen to this are already familiar with you guys, but to me, like Inter Arma is the only band where you're gonna get shades of old, real first wave death metal, uh, technicality, dissonance, scary shit. I think you told me you listened to a lot of Nile when you worked on Sulfur English. Is that right? I've been
uh
listening to him lately.
well, I mean, I'm always kind of listening to Nile
Yeah,
anyway. I'm
yeah,
listening right now.
yeah. It's Inner Arma is the only place where I know where to get like old brutal death metal and dissonant, like sort of technical, get my face blasted off, but then juxtaposed right next to that is stuff that gives me all the coolest elements of like Killing Joke or even like Nick Cave or um it's just really exciting, unpredictable stuff to listen to. So here I'm gonna hit you with some like dork questions. You ready?
Come on.
Okay. Um there's an easy way to ask this one, and there's a hard way to ask this one. But
Give it
having
to me
made
hard.
having made a few albums myself, I think the hard way would actually elicit the answer more effectively. So I could just ask you what's your favorite Inter Arma record if you had to pick one, but I'm going to ask you if you had to listen to an Inter Arma record on repeat with a gun to your head, you have to pick one. Which one would you choose?
um, fuck, probably Paradise Gallows because that one is the most varied.
That makes
Even
sense.
New Heaven's pretty varied. I think Paradise Gallows is even more varied.
I would pick that one or the new one. And I love Sulfur English, but that is definitely your most vicious one.
Oh, it's
And
fucking impressive.
I think if you were on a desert island, you would want some of that, some variety just to like get a breather every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the new one honestly has like the best elements of the previous several albums. So it for me, it would either be Paradise Gals or the new one, I think. Good answer. That's the right answer. Good job. Uh, okay. Favorite Van Halen record.
Mm.
I knew I'd get you.
Now you're asking me some good fucking questions. Just flat out favorite.
Yeah, have to pick one. And you can explain it. Why?
Fuck. Um, fuck.
I thought you froze, dude.
No, I didn't. I didn't freeze. I did kind of freeze. Uh, I'm gonna go women and children first.
Okay.
Probably a controversial answer to a lot of people, but fuck those people. I know more about Van than they do.
I'm sure that's true. I like Fair Warning. That's the one that really resonates with me.
Fair Warning is the darkest one, and that would probably maybe. I mean, like it's like fucking Fair Warning, Women and Children First, in 1984 are all interchangeable. That's not to
Cool.
say I don't love Diver Down and 1 and 2. And I also fucking love OU 812 and 5150 and fuck. Uh, but yeah, if I have to pick one, and if you ask me tomorrow, I'd probably fucking say fucking Diver Down. So, or I'm sorry, Fair Warning.
Gotcha. All right. Favorite Morbid Angel record.
Uh, Domination.
Okay. I think mine's Altars, but it changes all. I like Altars and Covenant.
I love Heretic.
Yeah, dude, one of the first death metal songs I ever heard was when I saw the video
Shrine by
for
Grace.
Enshrined by Grace on Headbangers Ball.
Love it.
Yeah,
Still love it.
that song rules, man. That song is
Talk
really
about
good.
talk about tough. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Um, favorite Metallica record.
Ride the Lightning.
Okay. Cool. That's usually my answer as well. I know you've been playing drums quite a bit longer than you've been playing guitar, but do you have a favorite of the two to play, or does it just kind of depend on what you're trying to accomplish or how you're feeling? But drums or guitar, which one is your favorite?
I always refer to myself as a drummer with a guitar problem, or whatever stupid shit you want to say. Uh, Drums are still number one, but if I'm trying to write a song, it's guitar. You can write songs, you can write riffs, and you come up with ideas on drums, but you can't really write a fucking song on drums.
That makes sense. There is a great tradition of drummers with a guitar problem. I would put Jimmy Bower number one in that category. He's kind of the archetype.
Love Jimmy Bower so
Yeah,
much.
me too, man. What's your favorite amp? Guitar amp.
Marshall,
Which
dog,
one?
dog.
Look at this fucking belt buckle right here.
Okay, if you're just listening, uh Jedediah is showing me his Marshall amps belt buckle. What does TJ stand for? I've never gotten a straight answer from any of you guys.
And you're never gonna.
that that wasn't a planned question, but that's good.
Jedediah Johnson Smith Shoulderlings is my.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
No. My favorite Marshall. Well, that's like my personal favorite, or what I think is the best Marshall that Jim Marshall ever created.
Both.
I have a JCM 2000 that I bought when I was 17. I worked all fucking summer long and bought that motherfucker, and I love that amp. But I've had a 71 1959. I have a 93 reissue 1959, and I have a 78 2203. I like.
You wait a minute. You did a thumbs up, and the thumbs up bubble like popped up on the screen. How the fuck did you do that?
Fucking Zoom is watching it. I like the 2203 and the 1959 for different things. The 2203 is definitely more aggressive. But the 59 just has this ass and bigness to it. And in a perfect world, I would have two of them on stage, EQ'd the way I want them, and so yeah, those two.
Okay. This one behind me, I went and got in Austin when we were tracking the last Spirit Adrift record. It's an 84 unmodded.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just listening to Ride the Lightning and the first two Trouble albums on the way there and the way back. That's just the sound. And I hooked it up, put a tube screamer on it, and they have something that no other amp has. That's for sure.
Yeah, the honk.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Honky. That's a honky amp. 5 favorite drummers if you could only had to pick 5.
What are you doing back there?
Eating chocolate.
John Bonham, Tommy Aldridge, and Gene Hoglan are always my number 1, 2, and 3.
Those are my first 2 as well. John Bonham, Tommy Aldridge.
And then from there, I mean, Jesus, there's a million dudes. I love Lars. Like I legitimately think Lars Ulrich is a fucking great drummer.
Well, he's a genius. He's an arranging genius. Like I get, all right, I'm going to have to fucking derail this right now. I get so tired, and I know you do, of people being like, can you just imagine Metallica if Dave Lombardo or Gene Hoglan was playing? And it's like, yeah, they wouldn't be as good. Sorry. They just wouldn't be as good because Lars doesn't have maybe the physicality and the technicality of those guys, although at one time I would say he was close, but he has a mind for doing the most left field, almost like borderline avant-garde approach to whatever riff is going on. He has the best instinct for knowing when to play like locked in with James's riffs or Kirk's riffs or Cliff's riffs, whoever, and knowing when to do something that almost turns the drums from a rhythm section instrument to like a lead instrument and like totally changes the personality of the song. And I love Dave Lombardo. I love Gene Hoglan, but people are always bringing them up. Like, can you imagine how much better Metallica would have been? And you guys are wrong, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Am I right?
Yeah, you're totally right. It wouldn't give Metallica as much personality, and I'm sure that a lot of people would be like, yeah, personality, that's just a nice way of saying they're not good or whatever, blah blah blah. But you, on top of that, you're definitely right that Lars really, even at a young age, because you got to remember they were fucking young those first few records. He really understood structure and song structure, and he kind of knew when to play and when not to play, and he definitely understood the fact that he was in a band with fucking James Hetfield. Like, yo, he's writing these riffs that are just out of this fucking world. I better not try to get in the fucking way, which that's the most important lesson that any drummer can fucking know.
Yes.
As far as concerned. Like, you know, he's like you could blast to that. You could play, you know, double bass 16th notes to that. But Lars just fucking played it straight. You know? That's get out of the fucking way of the riff.
Yeah.
No one's here to hear the fucking drum pattern except for drum dorks who don't get laid and are broke.
Well, hey, it's easy for you to say because you play drums and guitar. So you are sitting from an unbiased, neutral perspective. But you're right. The most important thing, no matter what instrument you're playing, is what's best for the song, not what's best for you and your ego, but what's best for the song. So,
but you're wrong though, because I am biased because I'm a drummer.
well,
but I don't listen to any fucking music for the drum pattern. If I put on fucking AC/DC Highway to Hell, I'm there for da 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 da. I'm not there for, which is, I love it, but I'm not there for Phil Rudd's straight ass drum beat.
Well, okay, maybe you're not biased, but you don't have the delusion that a lot of drummers and bass players have that people care about what they're doing. I'll put it that way.
Okay, that's more accurate. That's more fair.
All right, so we've got Bonham, obvious. Tommy Aldridge, obvious. Hoagland, super obvious. Lars, who's your last man or woman?
I might have to go Levon Helm.
Fuck yeah, dude.
His feel and him fucking singing those old band songs and playing, just he's that's a dude that I would love to fucking drink and do drugs with.
Yeah, me too.
Just like do you ever read his book? It's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, man. What's funny is sober guy that I knew, speaking of drinking and doing drugs, grew up in Woodstock, and I knew this dude in Phoenix. His stepdad was a semi-successful like folk musician and knew all the guys in the band. And so my boy in Phoenix like was sort of raised communally by the guys in the band, and he's got some stories. But I had Levon Helm's autobiography, which I think I mentioned on this podcast before, is like one of the most batshit insane. Like if you think Motley Crue went hard and did crazy stuff, like, dude, the band didn't care if they lived or died. Like legitimately, it seems like.
The story about Levon, he's like, maybe it's pre the band, he's with the Hawks or whatever, driving down a mountain in a Cadillac, and he's all fucked up on heroin, and there's all these naked women in the van with their in the car with their legs hanging out the fucking windows and shit. It's probably somewhere in fucking Arkansas.
I would imagine. Yeah.
All crazy fuckers.
I love that when Bob Dylan went electric and hired the band as his backing band, that Levon was so like turned off by the whole thing that he quit at the highest possible level you could be in the music business of success. He quit and went and worked. Yeah, worked on an oil rig. That's an Arkansas type of dude for sure, man. Respect.
That's some redneck shit right there.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple more questions, man. Okay, and for you, like Cavalt, like metal, hardcore metal obsessed, like posers, go listen to the band. Expand your damn horizons. If you want to hear a guy playing drums with like some grit, like that guy's a mean player. It's not mean music, but the way that he plays is like he's getting some shit out for sure. That ride cymbal, he hits that shit like it owes him money, man. Okay, 5 favorite guitarists.
Ooh. This isn't going to be in order. How about that?
I know two of them: Eddie Van Halen, Dimebag Darrell. They better be on there.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Dime, Ed, Hetfield. Probably Malcolm Young. And Jimmy Page.
Cool. I am reminded why you and I get along so well.
But see, it's this like when the Rolling Stone top 100, top 500 guitars, whatever the fuck it is, comes out. Like they put one out 10 years ago, and they put one out kind of recently. Not that any of this matters to me one fucking way or the other, but when you're talking about somebody who plays guitar, I feel like they bring in the songwriting part of it, which isn't illegitimate. It's a very valid part of guitar playing, and it's probably the most important part of guitar playing.
Yes, it is, man. Anybody can show off, and it takes a different. It's much more difficult to write something, whether it's a riff or a song or a lead or a solo. It's so much more difficult and challenging and important, I would say, to write something that's simple that people remember like for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And the guys you mentioned all do that.
Right. The guys I mentioned all do that, but if we're going back to the band, Robbie Robertson's a fucking killer guitar player. He wrote some of the best songs ever. John Lennon and Paul McCartney are I think actually John Lennon's a killer guitar player.
I'm more of a George Harrison fan personally.
And I love George's songs too. But that's where you sort of like, where are you going? Where's the line between lead guitar player and rhythm / songwriter type? Like that's where that conversation gets blurry.
Sure. Well, even Dimebag, man. So I have a guy that in Austin who works on my guitars. Shout out to Tom. He's awesome. But he used to like he worked for Jackson. He told me a story about taking a double neck, like the Jackson V that looks like an M to Mustaine back in the 90s. That was a good story. I'll leave that one off of here for now. It was unflattering, of course, but he said he went to that show and told me, I guess Pantera was playing with Megadeth. And, my guitar guy, he's older. He works occasionally with Billy Gibbons nowadays, and he did like the last big thing he did was like the CMT Awards when they were doing the Gary Rossington tribute, where it was like Billy Gibbons, Slash, and somebody else playing Sweet Home Alabama or something. So he's kind of from that school, but he worked with like Prong back in the day. He worked with Ministry back in the day, and he told me about the first time he saw Pantera, and we were just both going off about Dime. And the way that my guitar guy phrased it is he said what he was playing was relatable. And I've never heard anybody use that word to describe that, but it makes perfect sense. It's like nerds like us who love like shredding, we love it. But your average person that is maybe even just like a casual fan of music that just kind of appreciates one song by a band or something, those people can appreciate and relate to what he's doing as well. And I think everybody you mentioned is a great example of that. Jimmy Page, like in particular. I'm going to tell real quick an embarrassing story. Rick Beato, he did the YouTuber guy.
I love Rick Beato.
Oh my God, me too. He did a breakdown of the Stairway to Heaven solo.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, how many times that solo is like burned into my brain as much as my birthday, probably more so than my own birthday. But when he did that breakdown, I watched it and I was just like, oh my God, just seeing him break it down. And I listened to Stairway to Heaven I hadn't listened to it in a while. And when it got to the solo, I had fucking tears in my eyes, dude. And I've heard that song literally thousands and thousands of times. And this most recent time I listened to it still puts tears in my eyes. And it's not because he's blowing your socks off with technical proficiency. It's because he's like letting his soul out of that instrument.
Okay, and I agree with you, but and you see lists of greatest guitar solos of all time, and that's always number one. Jimmy Page fucking wrote that song. I think that is just as important as the fact that I would say it's more important than the fact that he wrote the guitar solo in that song, because the song is such a fucking journey, and it starts here and kind of goes down and then just takes you to this place, and then it fucking zeniths pretty much at the guitar solo. It's almost by design, if it's not 100% by design. So that is more important to me, speaks more volumes to me than the solo itself. The journey to getting there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that for sure. But like you said, the solo is kind of not the final destination, but it's like the climax, the climactic destination of where all the preceding parts are heading. It's
right.
like and there's a lot of like semi climaxes leading up to that. Honestly, my favorite part of the song is the I don't know if you would call it it's between the two verses, but when John Paul Jones comes in on the mellotron, and it makes me wonder, that part, the sound of what John Paul Jones is doing is like my favorite part of the whole song. But that's a song you can listen to thousands and thousands of times and find a new favorite part of it because of that human element, because of everything that we've been discussing.
My probably, again, like gun to my head, if I had to pick a favorite guitar solo, it would probably be the lead in Little Wing by Hendrix. But the fucking that song, the chord progression, the vocal melody, everything about that song is so perfect. And then just the way he comes into it, just hitting all the strings open and whammying down on it, and then it's fucking. You talk about bringing a tear to your eye. That shit fucks up every fucking time.
Hendrix is the reason I play guitar, and that was one of the first songs that I learned. Like I had a teacher in Tulsa for a brief period of time that actually played with Joe Cocker for a while. I don't know what era, maybe in the 90s, 80s, or I don't even. Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, Little Wing is like one of the reasons I picked up a guitar for sure.
Yeah, and it's what I mean. He's just bending up to an E, which is the fucking key of the song. It's not like he's doing anything that spectacular or anything. It's just it builds and builds and builds and builds, and it just drops down for that second. And Mitch Mitchell's doing the fill underneath of it, where he drops the fucking whammy bar, and it just fucking takes off. He's not doing anything that spectacular. It's just the buildup of the song and the notes that he plays, and then how he plays them. It's the same thing as Stairway to Heaven.
And he was what 25 years old doing that.
24, 25, something like that.
What a dick. I was an idiot when I was 25. I wasn't doing nothing cool, dude.
Just fucking drinking too much and doing chasing women.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. I got one more. What it's gonna be the 5 Desert Island albums. The old classic annoying question.
All right. Number 1 is the White Album by the Beatles, just because it's a double record, so you're almost kind of cheating. Probably probably Ride the Lightning. Fucking AC/DC Powerage.
Oh yeah.
Man, let me think. Zeppelin, Houses the Holy. Skynyrd, Second Helping.
Yeah. Yo, check that out. You see that?
Hot. White hot.
Dude, these are easy to find, and it's like one of the most morbid things ever. They got printed for the last Lynyrd Skynyrd tour, and the tour only had a handful of shows before the plane crash. So you can, there are like so many of these posters like on eBay and stuff because there were like way too many because the tour got cut short.
Right.
And,
So that's an OG pressing.
yeah, I guess.
That's. I mean, either way, it's fucking cool.
Yeah, who cares? I mean, I paid too much money for it to be a fake, but no, it was like they're pretty reasonable if they are original. But what's creepy, man, it's not gonna come through on video at all. But I don't know if they were like fried or hung over or strung out, probably all of the above. But they look like they have expressions on their face of like it's eerie. It's eerie, the expression on some of their faces. It's like they can see what's coming or something. It's one of my favorite band photos ever. It's just really heavy, man. And let's let's put a cherry on top of this by letting the listeners know that Lynyrd Skynyrd is one of the greatest bands of all time, unironically. And I think that's the best 5 album run that any band has ever had. Pre-Plane Crash, Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, it's pretty much flawless.
They're unbelievable. I mean, the first 2 records are perfect, front to back, everything about them. Yeah, and I talk about fucking lifers. I mean, granted, most of them died pretty fucking young.
Still counts.
But anytime you hear about a band practicing for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, it's like those motherfuckers were in it. They all of their cards were on the table. They weren't painting fucking houses like my sorry ass is. Like there was no backup plan. Like you're either fucking doing this, or you're dead, and that's it. So to me, that's fucking punk rock. Like you are fucking going for it, and that's fucking it.
Absolutely, man. Couldn't agree more.
That's fucking rock and roll as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, sir. Okay, man. So Inter Arma New Heaven is out April 26th on Relapse Records. Everybody take my word for it. Pre-order this shit. It'll be on my end of the year list for sure. Anything else you want to say / anything you've heard come out recently that you can recommend our listeners music wise?
The record, and there's been tons of records that have come out in the last year or 2 or 3 that I really enjoyed, including the last Spirit Adrift record.
Oh, thanks, man.
Which I texted you about that.
I can't remember.
I don't know. I listened to it like
sorry
in a row one day, but talk about weird fuck the world riffs and songs and ideas. The last Fanathaxis record, I mean the last, it came out like a year ago. That one fucked me up. That was the first time in a long time that I listened to something I went, shit is different now. For me at least. Like those boys, those people, whatever they are, wink wink.
Aliens.
Fucking aliens. That record fucked me up. The day it came out, I listened to it like 6 or 7 times in a row. I had to turn it off. It's like, okay, I gotta put on something that's not driving me fucking crazy. Like I stopped working and just was in disbelief of what I was hearing.
Cool.
And that's the first time I've heard. It gave me the same feeling as the first time I heard Sepultura, like Arise or something like that. It's like I want to fucking kill everything, but I also want to know what is going on because I can't really decipher it. Even I can decipher it, but I couldn't.
That's awesome.
It fucked me up.
Fan of Fact Seth. Everyone check it out, dude.
Fan Facts ass.
Hey, have you heard it's not the same really, but it just gave me those same sort of feelings of excitement and wonder and shit. This band from Norway, Sovereign.
No.
Check out their last record, Altered Realities. Came out on Dark Descent, but it's more sort of like first wave death metal, like when thrash metal was sort of morphing into death metal. So it's not like super dissonant or anything. At times it's kind of weird, like in a Voivod kind of way almost.
All right.
But I think you would like it. It's really cool. And they do a lot of the stuff we're talking about with intentionally putting weird shit on there and quote unquote like mistakes and like crazy risks with the production, and it's just fun, man. Altered Realities is the name of the record. So yeah, everybody check that out. Check out Thantafex, Thantafex, and Inter Arma. Inter Arma. What?
It's Axia.
Inter Arma, new record coming out in April. Everybody get it. Man, I miss you, dude. This was fun as hell.
I miss you. I was ready to talk like way more shit, way more Metallica.
We'll do another one. Let's do another one when the record comes out. You guys, what do you have going on? You're playing Roadburn and you got other touring and stuff in the works, or?
We're doing Roadburn, playing the new record, doing a secret set, and then some other shit with that. And then we're gonna do a European tour in the fall, a potential US tour in the fall, although we might be touring in the summertime with some people that you know that we have toured with together.
I could probably figure that one out.
Yeah. But that's still up in the air. But yeah, we got shit coming down the pipe. It's just I mean, you know how it is. It's everything takes fucking 6 months to 9 months to a year out to figure all the logistics of everything. So
dude, worse now than it's ever been, too.
I know.
Crazy. Well, all right, dude. That's it, man. I love you, bro. I miss the fuck out of you guys. Give the boys my best.
I love you, and I'll let everybody know.
Cool. And anytime you're in Texas, I'll be there.
If it's as long as it's in between what'd you say, Austin and Houston?
Yeah, but I love going to San Antonio, man. I was just in San Antonio last night for the Brain Squeeze thing, and it's like, that's the spot, dude. That's the spot. Austin, prove to the world you're not posers, because San Antonio is kicking your ass. San Antonio is like one of the most metal spots for shows like in the world, as far as I can tell.
That's what everybody says, and I like the town immensely. We've never had a good show there.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. It's yeah. I don't fucking. I think a lot of the people in San Antonio think that we're like these artsy fartsy types, and that's what our music is, and they just don't know. We get that a lot.
Well, hopefully this will help dispel the rumors a little bit.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll do this again when the record comes out, man. We got to.
Definitely.
All right, brother. I'm gonna watch some UFC fights now. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Give your lady my best.
Yep.
All right, man.
Later.
Later.